right? Like figure
Yeah.
out where they want to play. And so I did, so it's going to look so different, Nadia, because I redid the presentation. And I think you were on when we had Bitsky and Siesta and Unlock Protocol. When we did that event with them, I had, it was like kind of the look of how I redid the presentation from the original Wine Women Wallets, because now it's just Web3 101, a little more general, and everything's changing so quick. But I threw in a lot on Bitcoin in this, a little bit more, a deeper dive on why cryptocurrency in general, period, versus fiat money, just because I think it's a hot topic. So it will be different.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love how new people can ride the current wave.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think that's the perfect way to approach it for anyone. Like, just if we're looking for network adoption, then what's piquing people's interest right now? And let's bring them in and meet them where they're at and do that. Like, you've been so amazing with all of the AI content. It's so good. I love it. It's so fun.
Thank you. I'm loving it.
It's so fun. Okay, great. Well, okay, it's 12:05. So I'll get started. This will be recorded. I'll post the replay everywhere so that anyone can watch it back. And let me get my screen shared. Share screen. I'm going to give this one. And then this can be totally, if anyone, I will try and stop at meaningful points as I am talking to see if there's any questions in the chat. But please, if anyone has a question, just, you can interrupt me. I will not be offended whatsoever. There's no particular flow that this has to go through or anything like that. So feel free to stop me at any time if you need to. So this is so fun. Like I just said, I used to host these events fairly often. We did some with Nadia. We hosted how many women? I mean, we sold that event out in Tunisia. Or I guess they were all over. They weren't, but they were primarily, I think, from Tunisia, opening wallets, and that kicked off your accelerator program. And then we did it with 3 Spaces. And then from there, they've launched into their journey with Payju and some other brands with their business. So it's been, I think they've been so effective. And so I'm really excited to like revamp it, kind of speak to where we're at right now with Web3 101, where Web3 is now. So let's get started. It's going to be the basics. So, and again, no question is stupid. So if anyone has a question, please throw up your hand, let me know. And I will answer as much as I can. Okay. I was just checking the chat because I saw you guys came in with some comments. All right. So we're going to talk about cryptocurrency, blockchain, NFTs, and crypto wallets, and then open forum, ask as many questions as you'd like. And this will be totally digestible, totally high level. But if anyone kind of already has the high level and has some deeper questions, feel free to shoot them at me. Our objectives today, let me get rid of this little screen, is to introduce you to the basics, talk about how we can use blockchain to solve current business problems, because I think one of the biggest things is we have a lot of education that gets dumped out. And in my opinion, the reason I do this is because I don't think the education is that good. I think it's a little too deep than for what is needed to draw people into the Web3 world and to get them building. So the way I present it, I think is much more high level. And like I said, more of a choose your own adventure. What makes sense to you? Is it building in DeFi? Is it, bringing the blockchain into your existing business? Is it investing? Is it NFTs? So trying to use the tools we have and think of actual practical ways we can use these tools. And then the third objective would be to open a wallet. So for anyone who doesn't have a wallet, to get you opened so you can start safely, so you can start participating and playing around with these tools, this technology, and investing. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is blockchain. And for those who've probably heard it a lot, if you're here in this webinar or whatever you want to call this, if you're here, then you've probably heard about blockchain and haven't really probably put all the pieces together of how it works. So right now, if you were to access Google or TikTok, you access their server, and their server is just a big, warehouse of computers, basically, right? And Google has control over the data, how those servers are accessed, and blockchain is completely different. So if TikTok servers were to go down, you would no longer access TikTok anymore, right? But if TikTok existed on a blockchain is a network of computers, then you could think of everyone having a little piece of TikTok servers on their phone. So think about, I would have someone, you would have one. So if my phone got dropped in the pool, TikTok would not go down because everyone has a little piece of TikTok on their phone, verifying all of the data, all of the information, and the life goes on, right? So think about, instead of there being one main server, one main central controlling power, blockchain exists through a network of computers, thousands of computers that verify and authenticate information. This information is public. If you ran your own blockchain node, you would have the data for that particular blockchain going back to square one from the first transaction that ever happened. So it's really interesting. It's a novel, amazing network of computers that work to validate all of this data and keep it safe. And I will point out, which is important, that there isn't just one blockchain. When you hear different currencies like Bitcoin, you hear Ethereum, where NFTs are, Solana, you have Avalanche, which is a big one now. These are all different blockchains. They all have their own blockchain. And there's even people like IBM who've been using a private blockchain for years, because if you think of blockchain being this big, public, transparent ledger, someone like IBM who maybe has code or data that they don't want to be public, they created a private blockchain, still can take advantage of the way that technology works without having it be open source. So I hope that makes sense. It's just, instead of having one big controlling server, you have all this data being backed up on all these computers all over the world. And then it is decentralized, which is what we just talked about. So all these blockchain ledgers, all of this information, like let's just think of it as TikTok, all these videos, all these user data, it's distributed amongst an entire network of computers. So that it's just really, really cool way that it works. And then like I just said, each of these cryptos has their own blockchain. And so there's many, many different cryptos. And right now we're hearing a lot in this moment. And I think we have gone through ups and downs. And I guess maybe I should have given a little background on how I even came to be in this world of Web3. I started with Bitcoin. I started in crypto several years ago through a friend who was a Bitcoin miner. So when we were invited over to his home, he moved in our neighborhood, walked through his garage. He had carts, servers, fans, the whole deal in his garage. And I was like, what in the world? And his wife was like, oh, he just mines Bitcoin. And I was like, that's insane. Fast forward to now, clearly, I don't think he's insane anymore. We started investing kind of in a recreational way then, to pay attention to it and to learn it. And as we were having success, and as we started to understand blockchain, crypto, the goal of Bitcoin as a global permissionless currency, which we'll talk about, we started investing more. And then our friends and family started to get interested in investing as well, as we were having success. And so we wanted our friends and family to be investing as well. And they wanted to be investing at a meaningful level. But and still to this day, we didn't really think there was a great way for them to safely invest in crypto. So we decided to create a fund, and that fund is called Coin Kings. It's coinkings.fund on the internet. You can check it out. And the whole idea, that fund was created a couple years ago, was to help our friends and family safely invest, because we were thinking about, if our friend wants to put $50,000 in crypto, $100,000 in crypto, and they're going to keep it on a ledger because we tell them to, what happens if they lose that ledger? What happens if they die? Is their wife even going to know that thing exists? So we started the fund, and when the fund kicked off, there was one major problem, and that problem was there was no girls participating. It was only myself, my husband, my partner, Scott, who was the Bitcoin miner, one of his partners who's a former Lightning node operator. We can talk about that later, but also big into crypto, part of the network. And then that was our core team. And all of the people coming in to invest in the fund were men. And I was dealing with all the spouses inquiring about, why the hell is my husband's bonus check going into your fund? What is crypto? And so I started hosting these events in real life. So this started in real life, not on the internet. And the whole point being to educate what we're doing today, high level education on what it is, why it exists, and go from there. So that's here we are today. So Bitcoin, where it's had some waves, but right now it had a Taproot upgrade, which if you're on my Twitter, I try and break down very simply some of these big ideas behind how the technology works, but it's really not important for someone new coming into Web3. I think the most important part is grasping the ideas behind why we're doing this and where we think the future can go using these technologies. So, but before you can even extrapolate that in your mind, you just need to know how it works. So you've got blockchain's done. You've already got it. That's it. It's a big network of computers that validates transactions. Boom, done, moving on. Crypto, each of these currencies like Bitcoin are a digital store of value. And it's different than how we have now, which is fiat money, dollars. It's a physical store of value, right? So we jokingly call it internet money with our kids. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon. So on 0.3, you see that symbol. That's a symbol for Polygon, which is what Starbucks is using. That's the chain that Starbucks is using to launch their loyalty rewards program. But the main ideas about cryptocurrency and why they even are a talking point and why people are thinking about investing in them. And you hear words like digital gold. These are some of the reasons, because they are a digital store of value versus a physical store of value. We know there will be 21 million Bitcoin. We know that we have, audited ledgers. Who audits the Federal Reserve, right? So there's all these kind of deep dives we could go down into this. And I feel like I should do a presentation strictly on Bitcoin. But for today's talk, I'll leave it light and higher. But so our main points for why crypto, it's a digital store of value versus physical. It's on the blockchain, so it allows it to be audited. It eliminates intermediary risk. So for instance, if I wanted to send Nadia $100, I can send that directly to her wallet. And you may go, well, I could do that now with Venmo or PayPal. But if PayPal goes down or Venmo goes down, or Venmo decides that, Nadia is funding something with this money that they don't agree with, I may not be able to send Nadia that money. And for me to send money, if Nadia was in Tunisia, would be really difficult. And the fees associated with that, the speed, the length of time, those intermediaries for the exchange of money or value are hard now in our current system. Even our friends, we went on a ski trip. This seems so ridiculous, but one of our friends just pays for everything. There's 10 kids and 6 adults that go on this trip every spring break. And one friend just pays for it all. And then we all just send a Venmo at the end. Like we just keep a spreadsheet with all the food, all the everything we spend, and then we just tally it up. And it took, my friend lives down the street, and it took 2 different transactions for us to get the money to him, because the bank wouldn't allow a certain amount of money sent a day. And it was so funny. We were all joking about, wow, we should have just been able to do it in Bitcoin. It would have been easier. But anyway, so that's the idea behind the intermediary risk. And then we already kind of talked about each cryptocurrency exists on its own blockchain. We covered that already. The digital currency allows for a global means of transaction, also touched on that already as well. And then it returns its government to its natural state. And this, again, this kind of goes into the Bitcoin philosophy, but the government and what I feel, and I think a lot of people feel's purpose is, has been lost. And having something like a cryptocurrency that allows for this global permissionless currency to happen allows more of a free market and the government to get back to what it should be doing, which is helping people succeed, have the most safe, secure places to live. But right now it seems like a lot of our fiscal policy and finance are very muddied. I know we all are existing, and I don't want to get into a Debbie Downer about our current economy, but those are like our 5 main points for why crypto. So I'll stop there real quick. I'm going to check the notes. Creators, yeah, creators are content providers. We are the gold. Some ways you share information, you lose your rights. I mean, so it's so funny. I have this debate a lot. So thinking about that, share your information, lose your rights, because as we go on thinking about this, people go, especially people who are Bitcoin first. So I'll share with you people who are Bitcoin maxis. And now I feel like a lot of the Twitter verse, crypto Twitter, is starting to bleed together. You had this NFT degen culture, you have this Bitcoin maxi culture, and they're kind of coming together, which I think is a good thing. While there's adversity, I think there will be a lot of growth in those difficult conversations. The Bitcoin first humans see security and privacy and provenance as really the ruler of the day. And they couldn't imagine someone having an ETH wallet where they stored all like their MetaMask, or which, if you don't know what that is, I'll get to it, where you have one wallet where you store all of these really expensive, precious goods. They are more focused on privacy and security. And while I hear Ethereum culture saying that, their behavior suggests otherwise. And I think the general population feels otherwise also. So I think as we move forward in Web3, I think we will see not a give but more of a bend to those initial developers, the initial culture for crypto, to understand what the actual population is looking for with this technology, right? So I think it'll be different than just privacy, because I know we all say that, but then when I look at the way people behave online, as far as like giving of their data for, getting something, I don't know how much privacy really matters. It sounds great, but I always think people's actions make me think otherwise, but I agree. So just to cover real quick, like already we've covered blockchain, what it is, how it works, cryptocurrency, what they are, they live on the blockchain, why we think they are something worth investing in and building upon and increasing network adoption for. And now we're going to talk about smart contracts, because each blockchain, so let's take Ethereum, because this is the most well-known at this time, using smart contracts. There are definitely others, but smart contracts think of them like a software application. So they exist on the blockchain, and they can verify ownership of any asset. It can be a physical asset, it could be a digital asset. And I put some examples up here, like art, which I'm sure is probably the most commonly well-known. You hear about the Bored Apes, or even Sotheby's and Christie's, who has auctioned off some art. And these transactions are executed through smart contracts. Ticketing is getting really popular. Ticketmaster is now entering the game, looking into how it can use blockchain and smart contracts for ticketing. And I think a really great example for that is people who are loyal concert goers who love, let's just say, Sting or Cher or whatever, or Taylor Swift is probably more appropriate. There we go. So if you go to a Taylor Swift concert, you get your ticket, maybe you throw it in your desk drawer, it sits in your bag, and then that's it. But if you had received that ticket as an NFT and it lived in your wallet or in your vault, in your digital collection, then sorry, I saw a comment come up. I'll get to that. And then you can connect with other like-minded Taylor Swift groupies. You can maybe use that NFT to get first rights for tickets to her next event. She could do engaging things with her fans, like giveaways or merch discounts to people who went to certain concerts. There's a lot of ways to use NFTs to make stronger connections with your consumer or fan base. But I'll get into more of those after, but this is like high level music. I was mentioning to someone the other day, I really felt like I was scrolling music NFTs the other day, and it felt like way back in the day when, and I'm going to date myself, I'll be 40 in May, but I had a punk era. And so, you know, anytime you found a new punk band like NoFX or something like that, you were like, okay, this is so cool. This music feels like my own. No one knows about it. And you'd want to go get their, you know, record. And now scrolling these music NFTs, it felt like this opportunity to uncover, you know, these independent musicians and support them. So I love that. Memberships, Coin Queens is a membership community. I execute my memberships on the blockchain through NFTs. There's a lot of different ways, and there's, we'll get into a bunch of different things, but it could also be, I do want to mention, some of it could be purely collectibles. Like people love to collect things, Beanie Babies, you know, playbills. There's collectibles that people, you know, bobbleheads that, and there is a collectible nature to NFTs and to some projects. It literally is only for that building of a community around a shared interest, like let's say Beanie Babies. So before I go on into NFTs more, let me see. Oh, you're going to do NFT tickets too, Nadia. I know. Unlock Protocol has like a new Eventbrite for NFTs. I don't know if you checked it out. I have not used it yet, but I think that is really cool. Duara, I'm having a hard time understanding the economic rationale behind Bitcoin maximalism. Just thinking of future economic models. I know. So I am not a Bitcoin maxi whatsoever. And I could have big debates on this, but I can understand, and I really should do, and I will do. I'll do, and I'll bring in some of our fund partners, because one of them, my friend who the one who introduced me to Bitcoin, I would say he is not a Bitcoin maxi, but he is maybe a Bitcoin fundamentalist. I don't know what I would call him. A legalist, like I'm trying to think of church terms, but it is a different mindset. And I think that I honor where they're coming from, because they have been committed to the cause of this for so long, and it's such a deep held belief, and they spend a lot of time together. And I think it's hard to open your eyes a little bit to the actual what is happening and not get lost in the echo chamber of the fiat, as the US dollar is collapsing, you know, this is going to be the only way. So that's why I like that we're having these conversations. That's why I like ordinals, and I like all of these kind of merging of clashing cultures is happening, because I think it will break everyone down to get to maybe a more palatable place for Web3 to thrive, and for people to come together on common ground on how we can utilize this technology to its best way for the globe, for all. So I agree. The economic rationale behind the Bitcoin maxi is, I mean, it's good. It's good, but I agree, if you have a broader scope or global view, it may not make as much sense. But all right, let's keep going with NFTs. And again, feel free to chime in or interrupt me. So we were just talking about smart contracts, all the different things they can code into being. And instead of having, like, if you had a contract, if Nadia and I had a contract, and I didn't hold up to my end of the deal, she could take me to court. Smart contracts do not require that. They are codified, so they automatically execute when certain parameters are met. So I've always used and I don't know that my example is getting old, but a few years ago, GoFundMe, there was a big protest that some truckers were doing. And someone started a GoFundMe for these truckers to raise money. And GoFundMe ended up shutting down, or no, I forget what they did now. I don't know if they shut it down, or they said they were not going to disperse the money to the truckers, because they did not support the truckers, you know, stance on what they were doing. So all these people who had donated money really had no recourse at that point. It did end up going to court, but for instance, rather than having a GoFundMe where you have this intermediary, you have a smart contract that says once 48 hours has passed or once $100,000 has been raised, the money put into this wallet will be dispersed to this other wallet or to a multitude of wallets, right? So smart contracts eliminate the need for an intermediary to execute anything, whether it's ownership, sale, tickets, et cetera, all the things we just talked to. And here is Gwyneth Paltrow's Bored Ape, which is an NFT, and that sold for 50 Ethereum in 2021. I don't remember what the price of that was in 2021, but I think ETH is close to 2,000 now. So this, it's so funny to think of all the different use cases since we started this NFT journey a couple years ago. But Bored Ape is still sticking around. It's still holding its value. They're building a lot of things in the gaming industry, but there are plenty of NFTs that were bought for lots of money like this that aren't worth a lick of anything now, but you still own it. So says the smart contract and the NFT. So let's move on. Yeah, no, actually a panel or a chat would be great. Sorry. So let's move on to blockchain brand benefits. So I mentioned Starbucks and is rolling out on Polygon. And Polygon is its own blockchain, but it is a layer 2. I'm not going to get into all of what that means. That's not the idea for today, but it is a layer 2 on Ethereum. So you have the Ethereum blockchain, that big ledger of transactions where business is happening. Bored Apes are getting sold on Ethereum. A lot of NFTs you've probably heard of, but Polygon is a scaling solution, which means it's meant to allow for faster and cheaper transactions to occur. Ethereum, because of its consensus mechanism, meaning like how it validates transactions, is slower and more expensive. Polygon does it in a different way, still built on Ethereum, and Starbucks is using it now for their journey. I did sign up for it. I did get it, but I don't have any time, so I haven't participated in anything. I don't know if anyone has participated. I did log in the first time I got their journey access, and it was like, take a tour of our, coffee, of our coffee plantation in Costa Rica or wherever it is. And it looked beautiful, but I'm like, I don't have time to do this. So I have not participated in it, but I think what Starbucks is doing is trying to figure out how they can use blockchain to engage with and incentivize desired actions for their consumer. So this blockchain and everything we're talking about in Web3, it does not replace anything that exists. It will add a new context of use and new business opportunities that are still being uncovered. I don't have the answers for them all. Starbucks doesn't. No one does. When they first announced that they were going to be unveiling a Web3 program, this was months ago, I was speculating on different things. And I said, how brilliant would it be? They already have partnerships with Target, and that's a natural collaboration because they exist together. How amazing would it be if you earned 10,000 Starbucks loyalty points, and then that could give you $20 off at Target, right? So a really interesting way to incentivize consumers on both sides. And the second point to that is it allows the blockchain, what I'm building on now is it allows active participation and tokenization, meaning like those loyalty points, you could think of it like that, to align the incentives of a really diverse consumer base. So you have, it doesn't have to be that simple collaboration that you are comfortable with, like Target and Starbucks. It could be, two totally different companies that go, hey, our user bases are kind of the same. Let's collab and incentivize our consumers to, do what we want. And it doesn't have to be one-sided. I think there's some brands, and I want to talk about one company in particular that you may not be familiar with, but I think is really locking into this. this idea right here of how it's like an economic alignment engine really between your, and I didn't come up with that term myself, Amanda Cassett from Serotonin did, and I love it. You have, your users and your consumer and your investor, and it's kind of allowing for alignment of all three of those into this really effective economic engine. And one of the companies I see doing that is tyb.xyz, and it's run by Ty Haney. I don't know how to say her last name, but they have built a platform where brands can join, and it's with a crypto wallet, but it doesn't have to be with a crypto wallet. It can be email and username, and then they just create that for you on the back end. But it allows for these brands who are building to go, hey, say it's a drink brand. Hey, we're going to send you 6 different flavors. Let us know, what are your favorites? What do you think of the can design? Give us your ideas. I mean, it can be whatever, right? It can be any way that a brand wants to engage with their most loyal fans to help build a product that their consumer feels like they're really deeply a part of. And I think that's so interesting. And I am really excited to see how more brands continue to walk that path and innovate. So if you go on her, I don't know if they have a website or if it's just an app, or she's on Instagram and they're on Twitter and all the places, but it's tyb.xyz. And I think they said they have about 21 brands now. And I think that's super, super cool. That brands are taking a leap. Clearly, it's mostly startups at that point in that platform, but really, really creative stuff happening. And then for the brand side, you have this digital record of preference, behavior, and identity, and you can see what your consumer, their past actions have been, and what they've purchased, what concert they've gone to, current behaviors. Are they buying all of your, margarita flavor or whatever? Just all of their preferences, their loyalties. It's a really interesting way, the data analytics being built on top of the blockchain and the ability for the brands to own that and manipulate that and understand that is huge. And again, we haven't even gotten into that with any of the brands yet. I mean, Starbucks going to be the best use case for us at this point, but I think there are some smaller brands who are doing this and are probably doing it really well and are going to be able to provide some great feedback. Do the consumers get token rewards for the feedback? So exactly, they can. So I do know, for instance, on tyb.xyz, there are for engaging in posts, for reposting, for any sort of user-generated content type stuff. Yes, they can earn loyalty rewards. And those rewards can be whatever the brand sets them at. It could be discounts, it could be new merch, it could be first access to certain product lines. Literally, the sky is the limit. So I think it's such a unique opportunity for new brands to go, look directly at their consumer and go, hey, you want a new hair care line for the certain type of hair you have that you feel like isn't met on the market. What color bottle do you like? What fragrances do you like? Build this with me. Like, you're talking about super fans here, right? You're talking about like next level loyalty, in my opinion. So those are just some of my, sorry, my screen changed color. Some of the blockchain brand benefits. And this is so low level, and because I don't even think we've even touched it. So I love that everyone's here learning so that they can start thinking about how they could use it. So we've covered the blockchain, basically how it works, cryptos, how they exist, why they exist, why we want to have this, and some ideas for brands to utilize these tools and to start innovating. But to be able to do any of that and to play in any of this, you need a crypto wallet. I will say, some Web3 based tools that do use the blockchain do allow now username and email only. And they create what is called a custodial wallet. So they hold it for you. So you put in your email address and password, which I think this can kind of go back to the Bitcoin maxi, but not even Bitcoin, really just any sort of Web3 digital ownership maxi going, I don't like that. I don't like that the user is giving their email and creating a password, and the seed phrase and the blockchain wallet, the crypto wallet, is being held by a third party. And I kind of agree. I can't argue that. But at the same time, if I want to see wide scale adoption, everyone is not going to have a 12-word, 24-word seed phrase that they keep safe somewhere, or a ledger that they're having to connect and reconnect to their computer, which is like a little USB. We'll get into that. So I think that there is going to have to be some sort of happy medium, which is kind of what I was saying before, where about the privacy. I don't know how much people really care. I think they just want what's better, which is what we just talked about on the screen. They want what's better. How does Web3 make what I'm doing now, or what I'm buying now, or what I'm participating in, what club I'm a part of, how does it make it better? They don't think they really care much more. Maybe they will, maybe the economic times and political times may change that. But for now, I don't think we're there. So how do you get a crypto wallet? How do you participate in all this? So quickly, a wallet, like I just said, can be custodial or non-custodial. So you've probably heard of Coinbase, which is like an exchange where you can give them dollars and they'll give you crypto. And it can it's just like a bank. Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, all these ones, they are banks essentially. They do exchanges of money. And they have wallets that they will hold them in for you, which means, again, you just have a username and password, and you can access your funds, transfer your funds, do everything just like you could with your Chase Bank or Truist or whoever you bank with. But as everyone has seen, when everything went down with FTX, with that Sam Bankman-Fried thing, I don't know if you're familiar, but basically FTX was like a Coinbase. It was an exchange. It still remains to be seen whether they were over leveraged and were poor custodians of people's money. But what happened is, let's just say I don't keep any money on exchange, but say I gave them $100 and they gave me the equivalent in Bitcoin. It sat in their ownership. They custodied the wallet. So when they collapsed, my $100 of Bitcoin collapsed with them, and there was no means for recourse. And we do have to use an exchange to swap our US dollars or whatever currency you currently hold into a crypto, but then we immediately pull it off the exchange and we put it into our own personal cold storage wallet. And I'll talk about what those are, but that's the whole idea of self-custody. If you leave money on an exchange, then you're leaving it in the custody of that exchange. And you're hoping that they will be good stewards of your money. But if you maintain your own custody of your funds, then, there's certain security risks that come with that. Self-custody is a beautiful, liberating thing, but it also is it requires, some discipline. But I think this is one of the biggest barriers to entry right now to Web3, why people aren't building in it, innovating with it, investing in it. It's just too hard. And I'm going to give you a wallet solution that's trying to make it easier, that kind of blurs the line between self-custody and using an exchange. But anyway, let's get into it. So I just talked about this. What's the difference between an exchange and a wallet? So the exchange is your bank. It's where you exchange your dollars for crypto, and the wallet is where you store it, ready to be used, to connect it to the internet. So just like it's your digital ID, right? So these were some examples of some that you can use. If you wanted to purchase crypto, you could go here and you could buy it. You could leave it on there. I would not suggest that. The safest place to store access to your currency is a ledger. So before I go on, first I'm going to check this. Hold on. Oh, wait, because I saw it said I don't, with power comes responsibility. That is right. So I want to make a point here. When I say if you buy crypto, Coinbase holds it and Coinbase goes down, then you lose access to your money. The reason you lose access to your money is not because they were actually physically holding Bitcoins. It's because they had the keys, the seed phrase, the access to get your crypto. So so I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. So your Bitcoin does not live on Coinbase. It lives on the blockchain. The blockchain is that distributed network of computers, right? So Coinbase doesn't own it. They just own the access to it. So this ledger, it's like a USB, connects to the internet, and you can use that to safely hold your private keys. It's usually 12 to 24 words. And for example, our fund, which I talked about, we store the private keys to things in a multi-signature wallet. So to take it a step further, where not just one person has access to those keys. There's a few keys on each ledger. So it requires everyone to come together to access the money, to make decisions with the funds, and so on and so forth. So just taking that level of security, even higher. But this is a ledger, this is cold storage. Your keys are not connected to the internet. There is no way for anyone to access them unless you get your ledger and you connect it to the internet and you give someone access to it. So these are the safest, much less vulnerable to an attack. And I've heard people ask, or I've even heard people posting content about, oh, if you lose your ledger, it's over, like the celebrities rocking their ledger around their necklace. But that's your ledger has a password. So unless someone knew your password, they can't get your private keys, and you can just buy a new ledger, put your password in, and you'll get your keys back. So it's not the end of the world. And I see a lot of people talking about that, like, oh my gosh, you're so crazy. Someone would steal your ledger or kill you to take your ledger. You have some multi-million-dollar NFT on there, but they would have to know your password. I guess they could torch you for it, but that's like taking it next level. So I don't think that's where we're at. So if you, the safest, here we go, end of that. But if you're going to be accessing a lot of Web3 tech tools, you may not want to whip out your ledger. MetaMask is the most common. It is considered a hot wallet because it is connected to the internet. So the ledger is not connected to the internet unless you so choose to. But this is vulnerable to like phishing and hacking. So think of it like when you get like texts with those links to click, now it's text. It used to be emails, and we still get emails. So I feel like now it's much more clever to be like, oh, your Amazon order has been delayed and there's a link. That is the same idea with MetaMask. You can get airdrop things to click, never click anything. If you download a MetaMask and you will get a seed phrase, it'll be 12 words. You need to write that down in multiple places, not on your iPhone, because if your iPhone doesn't get backed up or you lose it or whatever, then you lose that seed phrase. Your seed phrase needs to be written down and stored in more than one safe place, in my opinion. And that's because those keys, if you lose that 12-word seed phrase to your wallet, there is no way to ever get those monies back. It's gone. So very important to do that. But MetaMask is the most common. You can purchase currency in your MetaMask also. So instead of using Coinbase, if you were only looking to buy a small amount, like for, I don't know, maybe you're like, I just want to buy this one particular NFT or do this one particular ticket or go to this one event or buy this one membership. I'm not ready to take the plunge and invest $10,000 into crypto, and you had a small value that you wanted to buy, you can do it right in MetaMask. You can do Apple Pay, or it's called Moon Pay, but you can do Moon Pay. They'll give you options, and you can transact that exchange right in your iPhone. That's pretty amazing. But this is like this is self-custody. This is, don't be stupid. And then and we did an event with Bitski. I don't know, it's been a couple months ago now, I guess. So Bitski is considered a hot wallet. It's the same thing, but when you go on, if you downloaded Bitski right now, you would create an account strictly with your email and password. They custody the seed phrase. It automatically creates a crypto wallet for you when you go into Bitski. And it's very beautiful UX. You can just do it just for doing nothing. Like, you can't break anything. You could go in it, scan it, enter it, and just play around in it just to see what they've created. but they have the keys to your wallet. You can actually get those and end up self-custodying it if you want, I believe, but that's not the intention of this. The intention is it's to make it much more user-friendly, to make the onboarding experience much easier. And for instance, a brand who wanted to take advantage of all those blockchain benefits we talked about, but they're like, how the hell am I going to onboard my consumer to a crypto wallet, which they're not. They would just have this app that all of their tokens and data could exist in. And Bitsky will even go so far to do a white label one. So say I wanted a CoinQueens app, a CoinQueens wallet, basically, where all of my members' tokens and loyalty points existed, which is something I've talked about. Then they would create that for me. So it would look just like the CoinQueens logo. They would click it. All of their stuff would be in there, what they've interacted with, what they've, any sort of loyalty I've chosen to give them for engaging in social media posts or attending events, etc. Really cool way to do it. So Bitsky, I think, is a great option. And there are other wallets besides Bitsky. I just happen to know them very well and very comfortable with their security, their technology, and how they're backing up and securing all that data. And that's, again, another deep dive, like nerded out conversation we could go into. But for this purpose, new to Web3, and you're like, I just want to get in there and start checking stuff out and seeing how people are interacting, what they're spending their money on, what are the communities like. Do this. It's easier, way easier, and less daunting and less responsibility. And then maybe one day you walk the path and you go, okay, I'm ready to be, in full self-custody of my Web3 experience. And you can, get a different type of wallet. I think that's it. Yeah. So that's the end. This QR code goes straight to our community because I'm certain that there will be questions or there will be deeper thoughts wanted. And I'm happy to, the reason I did this today was because some new members to CoinQueens had said they were beginners. They answer a questionnaire and they're like, I'm totally new, no idea. And it's a good check for me to be like, okay, we've been existing in this industry for a while, but the number one goal has and will always be network adoption. And so to do that, people need, at minimum, the entry ticket to play, right? And so the entry ticket to play is what we just talked about. In my opinion, the high level, this is